Well, thanks for bearing with us. This is the first time for the Own Wellness question and answers, and I'm not very skilled at these things. It's my first time, so Libby is helping out, but I appreciate everyone being here. This is awesome. Got about 20 questions that I'm going to go through. There is a chat function, so if you need clarification or something quick, do that. If it's something long and you need a follow-up, feel free to send an email and we'll get back with you the best we can. One thing I want to mention first, and this, I've learned this, remember I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner, so the way I practice is classical Ayurveda, so you'll see me fall back on that a lot. And one thing that I've learned in my trips to India is that when we're discussing with a client, someone we're working with, a lot of people think that the supplements are what are going to make them better. They think, oh, wow, I'm going to take these things and I'm going to get better. That's very far from the truth. Actually, the supplements support the daily lifestyle. It's called dinacharya in Sanskrit and Ayurveda. So supplements support dinacharya. That's daily habits, our diet, how we think, how we operate, what our life is all about. So it's not like we can maintain a poor diet, a crazy lifestyle, stay up all night, and take shatavari and turmeric and get healthy. It doesn't work like that. So just remember, when you're talking to people, explain to them that supplements support dinacharya. And there's a good pyramid, and over time I'll share more of it with you guys. So getting to the questions here. First one, how often should someone see their holistic health practitioner? This is a good question that came in. A good habit to get in would be to tell them, if you explain the doshic seasons, vata season, pitta season, kapha season, we should all prepare before each doshic season. So 3 times a year minimum. But vata season is so long in Michigan, it's also advisable to meet in the middle of vata season, especially because I've never seen anybody not have a few issues during vata season. It's usually when everything comes together. Their imbalances, I mean, when they come together. Usually you see that during vata season. So a good rule of thumb is prior to each doshic season. And then a lot of times when people ask me questions like that, I'll say, if you come to me when you need me, it's probably too late. It's just like going to a chiropractor. I go every single week, whether I'm in pain or not, because why wait for your back to go out and have pain and then go there and then you're asking the guy to fix you? Holistic health works the other way around. It's 80% prevention, 20% treating imbalances. And if you don't have to go to that 20%, you're going to be a lot more successful. Trying to treat people that already have an issue, it's much more difficult than maintaining someone that's looking for overall health and balance. Number 2 here. What would you suggest for a spring cleanse that follows an Ayurvedic protocol? Well, remember, Ayurveda is truly based on, if you really look at it, it's based on digestion and elimination. Are we able to break down our food? Are we able to cook our food? And are we able to eliminate waste? If we're breaking down our food, assimilating nutrients, building tissues correctly, and eliminating waste, it's pretty tough to get sick and to get imbalanced or become imbalanced. So for a spring cleanse, that goes back to Ayurveda, and even as a holistic health practitioner, we're treating the person and not the season or the imbalance. So to answer that broadly is very difficult, because let's say it's a borderline emaciated vata type, probably not going to want to do anything that's going to limit food. You're probably going to have a hard time getting them to eat more. So the cleanse would be more herbal, like possibly something as simple as dandelion root. And the reason why I say dandelion root, in the spring, what comes popping out of the ground? First thing, dandelions. Nature gives us exactly in order what we need. So when in doubt, look, what is nature offering? What is nature giving us right now? And it'll give you the answers. So something as simple as just taking dandelion root, drinking the tea, the tincture, can be considered a cleanse. And another fallback is khichdi. Any doshic type, anybody can eat khichdi. You can eat khichdi for 3 days, 7 days, 10 days, and a little bit of ghee, drink some herbal tea. Amazing what it'll do. So not to skirt that question, but that again goes back to treating the person and not the imbalance. Number 3 here, if you have a client who has chronic digestive issues, bloating, constipation, etc., would you have them do a fast or detox before beginning other healing protocols like herbs, elimination, diet? That's the same as number 2 there. No idea unless you see the person, because bloating and constipation is tridoshic. It can come from any of the doshas. It can come from so many different imbalances, but what it always comes back to is there's an imbalance in digestion, or agni. As we know in Ayurveda, agni is the digestive function. So when someone has chronic digestive issues, first thing you would look for, the 2 main components, the 2 very unique components to Ayurveda, is the concept of agni and the concept of ama. Ama, as we know, is undigested food particles, the inability to cook our food, to break it down. So the goal of Ayurveda is to rid the body of ama and to increase the ability for the organism to break down nutrients and food. So look at it that way. What's going on with the ama situation, what's going on with the agni situation versus the symptoms of bloating and constipation. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a little bit quick, but that's kind of an advanced question there. Next question. I want to make a body oil at home to start Abhyanga, which is self-oil massage. What herbs should I infuse in it, and what is the easiest way to do this at home? I've seen these recipes online that say take the oil, add in herbs, bring it to a boil, use that. I'm not 100% convinced that works. I make Abhyanga oil or Snehana oil the traditional way, and it takes 3 to 5 days, and it's pretty detailed. I would suggest you don't do it, that if you're in a pinch, just get sesame oil and use that, and then purchase traditionally prepared oil for Abhyanga. That's much better. Libby, I lost the screen. Wait, okay, I think I got it here. What dosha causes bloating, and if someone gets bloated frequently, what is a good herb to take? Again, all 3 doshas can technically cause bloating. Vata, with its drying nature, can dry out srotas, or the channels. Pitta can dry out srotas or cause inflammation, with the heat. And then kapha can be congestive. And so, again, we go back to treating the individual. Look for ama situation, agni situation. Are they full of toxins? Get rid of the toxins. Are they digesting their food? No, they're not. Increase digestive function. So those are the 2 things that will take care of bloating and digestion, elimination issues. An example would be, I would say, it might even be 100%. I think 100% of the time that I've had a fertility case, I will tell the couple, okay, for the first 30 to 60 days, depending on how well you do with your diet, we are going to reduce ama, rid your body of ama, and we're going to increase your digestive and balance your digestive function. After 30 to 60 days, depending on how good you are, I will then change into formulas, herbal formulas that will increase and better the soil and the seed. I think 100% of the time, I've never even gotten to the fertility part of it. Just by reducing ama, increasing agni, they end up getting pregnant within 30 to 60 days while we're in that phase. So that's how important. When you reduce ama and you increase agni, your body functions better. So people will say, what do you normally treat at your clinic? And I'm like, I have an ama removal and an agni increasing clinic. That's basically what I do all day. And the seasonal changes will affect that. So we're always looking for what's coming up. What do we prepare for? How do we get ready for this that's coming up? Hopefully, again, that makes sense. That's somewhat of an advanced question too. My mother is a pitta and can't quit smoking. Does her smoking have anything to do with her pitta imbalances? Absolutely. When we bring anything into the body, the master gland, the liver has to deal with it. What is happening to the liver when we're bringing in toxins? It's put under stress. When it's under stress, what basically produces pitta? The liver. So now we've got the organ that produces pitta under stress. So it's basically like the green monster that eats itself and just keeps getting bigger. Yeah, the smoking is causing an increase in the pitta imbalances, and the pitta imbalances wants her to smoke more because it calms her. So things like that, in that situation, you would want to work on reducing excess pitta, so that way it's calming, so that way she doesn't feel the need to smoke. Remember, most people that are addicted, either alcohol, food, or smoking, addicted to anything, are doing it in a form of self-medication. They may not even know that they're doing it. That's the reason they're doing it, but normally it makes them feel better. And so that's why they continue to do it. So you have to figure out, why don't they feel well, and what can I help so that way they don't feel the need to self-medicate. Look at it that way. So in this case, it's the two feeding off of each other. I think I'm hypoglycemic and spacing my meals is difficult. If I don't, I start to get dizzy and feel sick. My blood tests are normal. What should I do? That's a very common question. What happens is that when we have AMA in us for too long and it's not removed, it will start lodging itself into our tissues, into our organs, into our joints. And when that happens, that means that area of the organism is vibrating at a rate that's not conducive to communication, what modern medicine calls feedback loops. So when you think you're hypoglycemic and your blood tests show that you're not, which I'm not a big fan of blood tests, everyone knows that, because it suggests that we're sick. I'll get into that later. When you have that feeling of hypoglycemic, typically it's the stuff in you that's dictating your gut and your mind. And what I mean by that is that when you have, as an example, candida overgrowth, when you don't feed the fungus the sugar to make it feel good, it sends signals in your gut to your brain, and your brain gets confused thinking, I need to ingest something sugary to take care of this because my blood sugar is off and I'm hypoglycemic. So that's a long explanation for saying a lot of times when we change how we eat, how we view food, how we start interpreting our existence, we will have die-off. We will have things that have always been in us that will start dying off, and they don't go easily. They'll fight back and want us to feed them. I know that sounds very metaphysical or out there, but it's the truth. That's the way things work. Hopefully that helps. You guys can take that to the bank when you're talking to people, because I can guarantee you're going to hear that one. This is another good one that we all hear a lot. I struggle to eat when I'm out with my friends. I don't want to give up my social life. What are some tips? Very good thing I always say, go somewhere where you know they've got good soup, and bring along your churna. Bring along a churna of the dosha that you feel that is imbalanced. Put a little bit of the spices in it and enjoy some soup. It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. And if you're a vegetarian, you can find vegetable soup. It's not that big of a deal. Remember, when we ingest food, the body has two goals. Goal number one is to cook the food, to heat it up. We've all thrown up before and you feel that burning. That's pitta. So the body wants to cook the food. Secondly, it wants to liquefy it. Okay, so the two goals when we ingest food, cook it, liquefy it. What is soup? It's cooked and liquefied. Now you put those spices in there, what you're doing is you're actually giving yourself a detox in a meal. It's a fantastic thing. So rather than think, well, I'm out with my friends, I can't eat, they're having burgers, whatever. That doesn't matter. have some soup, put some spices in it, enjoy yourself. And then you just know deep down that you're doing something that's helping yourself as a human, as a balance for mind, body, and spirit. How do I help someone that drinks beer every night but wants to get healthy? He says he won't give up his beer. Is there anything I can do? Well, if he's really, really committed, and you can see it in his eyes, and he is giving signs that he's committed, and he's just got a little bit of a beer problem. Again, we'll go back to the one that I mentioned, the smoking. There's probably a reason why he's drinking the beer. Okay, so our goal is to not so much get into his head, but try to figure out what is it that's causing that. And then a lot of times people just feel uncomfortable. Like I have friends, and I used to be that way decades ago, where I was uncomfortable no matter what I ate, and I couldn't wait for my meal to get to a point where it didn't bother me, so then I could have a few drinks, and then my head would feel better. So a lot of times you're going to go right back to AMA and Agni. So go back to there, and then also try to help discern why the person feels the need to drink beer every night. We can all be tridoshic, but we lean towards one dosha being dominant. Can this change over time? Okay, that's why I always say that it's very dangerous for people that aren't well versed in Ayurveda to talk about dosha. And I've heard and I'm not picking on them, but like yoga instructors will talk about dosha as if they're experts on it, and they're way, way off. One of my, he's a famous author, written like 24 books on Ayurveda, good friend of mine. He told me a number of years ago that it takes a decade, it takes 10 years to understand the word dosha. And that's true, it's very true. Every year I look back and I'm like, yeah, I've got a deeper understanding. It's hard to explain, but you'll know what I mean. Okay, so with dosha, we have two. We have prakriti and we have vikriti. Prakriti is considered the best way to put it in layman's terms, our pre-birth constitution. Okay, or you can call it birth constitution. I like to call it pre-birth. So you have your prakriti, and then vikriti is our current status. You could call it pathology, you could call it imbalances. So now vikriti, yes, it can change hourly, it can change daily, it can change by the minute. You can really upset someone, go back to the pulse, and now vata is deranged. So that vikriti can change very, very quickly. Prakriti doesn't change very quickly, but 90% of us are dual doshic. Like I'm more pitta kapha, and vata comes in third. And there's ways to test that, ways to read prakriti in the pulse and shape of things, like shape of the tongue, shape of the hands, speech pattern, many different ways, but it's not very accurate. You can get, I guess it is accurate, but I never hang my hat on knowing exactly what the two are. I'll usually know, let me back up and rephrase that. With me, I'm pitta kapha, but I've had other people come in that seem to be kapha pitta as their prakriti, but then as they clear ama and increase their agni, when I go into the deep pulse to feel for their prakriti, it'll feel slightly different. Does it change? Not really. Does it become clearer? Yes. Okay, so remember, vikriti is always what's happening right now. Prakriti is our pre-birth constitution. I've heard it described this way. You have a lake. At the bottom of the lake, not too much changes. Rocks stay there and everything. At the top, you have the buoys bouncing around. Lake here, buoys here. In the middle is what, and we'll go into pulse reading one of these days, but in the middle is where you get what happened, what caused the buoys to move. Okay, so hopefully that helps there. How is diagnosis done in Ayurveda? It's actually threefold: questioning, observation, and touch. We all know what questioning is, we all know what observation is, and we all know what touch is, but what does it mean? to observe. You're looking at, and I do this a lot, I'll see someone walking in and I'm like, uh-oh, I know something's up. Observe, what's the facial expression? Skin tone, is the hair growing normal? Speech pattern, are they speaking loudly? Are they speaking quickly? Are they afraid to speak? Are they lost in their thoughts? There's a lot of things that you can discern off of observation. Then you can look at the nails, read the tongue. Questioning, that's why it's very good to have a good intake form. You know exactly what to ask. You follow a pattern. Asking about like I've said a lot of times, if you're sleeping well, digesting your food, assimilating nutrients, you're happy, and you're eliminating well, then what else do you need? Usually one of those five is there's an imbalance. So diagnosis of sight, questioning, and then touch, what could be skin temperature, dryness or suppleness of the skin, and then of course, once you advance, pulse reading. Any questions or anything? Livy, I don't see a screen on here. Okay. Can one take Ayurvedic medicine with modern medicine? Yes, they can, but it definitely decreases the effectiveness. That's a long answer there. Can you take someone who is terminally ill and on medication and give them herbs to help things? Like, let's say their medication is causing bowel issues, that they're really constipated. Could you give them herbs to help with bowel movements? Yes, but you also have to do your research. You have to make sure that it's not contraindicated with the medicine they're taking. So this is kind of a trick question the way I see it. And people they truly need to choose what they're doing. They need to say, they can't say, you know, I'm going to be on this medication forever and I'd like to go the holistic route. But they could say, well, I have a terminal illness. I'm only going to live a few years. Can you help with my quality of life? So I don't deal with a lot of that. So this is kind of a difficult question to answer. But yes, you can. But you have to do your research, make sure you're not going to mess them up anyway. And a lot of times it's better not to do it. So that's a pretty in-depth question. I would suggest if you have specifics on that you ask regarding a actual case study, because that's a general one I really don't want to commit to, because there's times you shouldn't give them anything, but there's also times that you can. The last thing you want to do is try to tell someone to stop their medication and you're going to give them herbs to replace it. That's just a good way to get sued and get in hot water. So if they come to you and they're asking you for help, that's a lot different than you telling them what to do. Since I'm primarily a Pitta dosha, should I stay away from fast-paced activities and try to ground myself more through meditation, restorative yoga practices? Well, yeah, of course, but remember, fast-paced activities would be more imbalancing to Vata. Remember, Vata is ether and air, and it governs movement. Pitta is metabolic. So the act of fast-paced, yeah, that could be considered Pitta, but what started the movement is typically Vata. Invariably, I would say close to 100% of the time, when people come in, you've got to deal with their Vikriti, their Prakriti, and Vata at the same time. Okay? So would slowing down help Pitta? Yeah, but probably by reducing Vata, which in turn reduces Pitta or balances Pitta. Or like, here's an example. Flying in an airplane really upsets Vata. If you know you're going to fly, prepare for it for a few days before and be ready for it when you land. So saying, okay, I've enrolled in this fitness class and I know I'm going to be doing this and I know this is going to happen. Well, just prepare. What I mean by that is eat pacifying food and reduce it. Reduce what could be the imbalance. All right. How do we know Ayurveda is the right way and all of these other practices to balance your body are not? I wouldn't say that it's the right way and the other ones are not. What I found when I took the HHP course and I went through the part that was the intro to Ayurveda, I was actually planning on being a naturopath and practicing naturopathy. But at the same time, so I started studying for that doctorate. And what I found, and I'm not knocking naturopaths, but the old dudes, 100, 150 years ago, they're all about cleansing first, treat second. What I see a lot of now, the guys that call themselves naturopathic physicians, people will come in and say, you know, I've got this going on or whatever, you know, I'm diabetic, and they just give medicines that are natural to treat that symptom. What Ayurveda does that's totally different than even TCM, traditional Chinese medicine with herbs and acupuncture, we'll go right back to it. The concept of Agni and the concept of Ama. And so when you clear Ama and increase Agni, and then you give herbal medicines, it works totally different. If you were to give them when they're all clogged up and can't digest, it's not going to hardly work. So is it the right way? No, it's very effective. And then getting into the traditional way of looking at Ayurveda, it's considered omnipresent. Ayurveda is considered to have been here at the formation of the earth, and it's considered part of the earth. It's considered to be here since the beginning and will always be here. And getting into the Vedic studies, Lord Dhanvantari taught this for this planet. Okay, so there's a deeper meaning to it, and I've seen so many things happen, so many changes that it still amazes me. So I wouldn't say it's right, but integrating a system that's mind, body, and spirit and balancing, it's hard to find. And Ayurveda does all three. Like an example, you know, I love chiropractic and I love acupuncture, but most acupuncturists don't use herbs, and they don't recommend dinacharya, like proper dinacharya. So remember, we got back to the supplement support, diet and lifestyle. So that's why Ayurveda is very effective, is it integrates all three of those. Is turmeric a supplement that everyone should take to help with inflammation, or could it potentially affect some negatively based dosha? Yeah. There it is. To help with inflammation, could potentially affect someone negatively based on dosha. Okay. Yes, it could. Too much of anything can increase vriddhi, meaning increase doshic activity. Example, beet juice is wonderful, but you give it to a pitta 3 times a day, and eventually they're going to start breaking out or go crazy because it's a little too much heat. Can turmeric be drying? Can it be heating? Yes. So that's a very difficult one to answer. Taking a small amount every day, I think pretty much any human could do that. But if they're eating it every meal and taking large doses, then yeah, it could be drying to vata, and it could be heating to pitta. So you have to be careful with that. Can we get all the nutrition we need from foods alone, or should we take a multivitamin to compensate for lack of certain vitamins in our diet? We can get it all in our nutrition. Remember studying the tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, pungent, astringent. If you strive to have all 6 tastes every meal, you're going to become real close to having all the correct nutrients. And the body is going to know how to digest them. Okay, if you're eating primarily what Americans do, sweet and salty, eventually that, well, as we know, the top 3, sweet, sour, and salty, increase tissue. Bitter, pungent, astringent, decrease. Metabolic, catabolic. So by having all 6, you can see that there's the catabolic is being, anabolic, and catabolic, yes. So you can see that the 3 are going to balance by the other 3. So by having 6, it goes back to Is it lack of nutrients that the food's not giving us, or is it our inability to break it down correctly and assimilate it? Okay, so think about that for a minute. And think about this too. I spoke with a guy that owned a portable toilet business, Porta-John business, and he told me the amount of capsules that are in the bottom of those things when he cleans them is beyond belief. He said it's full of undigested supplements, okay? And then look at like those ads you see on TV for those daily multiples. I don't know if any of you guys have ever taken one of those suckers, but I think you need a hammer to break one. It's like taking a giant rock. So you're telling me that someone that has diminished agni, probably has a little bit of ama, digestion's off a little bit, they're going to swallow a rock and it's going to break down and do any good? And then remember, veggie capsules, they start breaking down in the duodenum, into the small intestines. So people that need the herbs in the stomach don't even get it there, because it doesn't start breaking down until the acids hit it in the duodenum. So taking multivitamins, it's hit or miss. So it comes down to, are you going to be able to break down the multivitamin, and are you going to be able to assimilate it? Well, if you're going to be able to do that, then you're going to get it through your food anyway. So that's a question, again, goes back to individuals, definitely. And I hope that helps. What supplements should the average person take every day? Great, that's a great follow-up to that. If anyone sits there and tries to tell you what vitamins you should take every day, they don't know what they're talking about, because I don't know that anyone knows what you should take just off by doing it through trial and error, because you don't know whether they're digesting it, and you really don't know about the metabolic function. The only thing I've ever found that comes real close to in fact, I have a lot of faith in it, is the hair tissue mineral analysis. When you send your hair into the lab, it basically shows, the hair will show what you're not assimilating properly. And the example, I'll use myself as an example. When I played rugby and when I refereed rugby, I had horrible calf cramps. I've got scarring in the tissues. Like if I flex my calf, you can see these lines where I've just torn the muscles from cramps. And when I had and I would take tons of magnesium, calcium, potassium. I took everything trying to avoid it. Never really worked. I always had to battle that for almost 30 years. And when I had my hair tissue mineral analysis done, right in the report, it showed that I wasn't assimilating calcium and magnesium properly. And I had a high level toxicity of aluminum. Okay, so it wasn't so much that I needed those things, I wasn't assimilating them. So the reason why I like the HTMA, the hair tissue mineral analysis, it shows what you're able to digest, what you're able to assimilate. And it's not like on a need basis. Like a typical response from allopathy is, let's say someone who's anemic, they will say, well, take iron pills. Well, that doesn't really make any sense if you think about it. Why are they anemic? Why is the spleen under stress? What is causing the spleen to be under stress? Is the liver under stress? So that's what the HTMA does, and I really like that for figuring out what supplements to take. And that is going to be offered as a class, a follow-up class through Home Wellness. We are going to have hair tissue mineral analysis where you can become certified in that, which is going to be wonderful, something we're working on. I've been reading a lot about triphala. Is triphala safe to take as a maintenance herb? Absolutely. In fact, there's an old saying in India that the ladies at the orphanages would tell the children that didn't have parents, don't worry that you don't have a mother, you have triphala. Triphala is very safe. It's 3 fruits, and it's, I mean, the list is long, but all it does. I just wouldn't take a heavy dose 3 times a day. And that gets back to the doshic makeup. Bibitaki, Haritaki, Amalaki. You go higher on Haritaki when it's Vata situation. You go higher on Amalaki when it's a Pitta situation. You go higher on Bibitaki when it's a Kapha situation. If they're all balanced the same amount, consider that maintenance. It's not as therapeutic. When I put it in, add it to a formula, and there's a vata imbalance, they get more haritaki. When there's a pitta imbalance, they get more amalaki. So there you have it. Why is ghee so healing? That is a wonderful, wonderful question. And I could go on for a long time, but what I'm going to say right now is a lot of people don't realize that that butter, that simple butter ghee, actually kindles Agni. Okay? It lubricates. It feeds the cells. In Ayurveda, water is considered raksha, meaning drying. An example is this. Put a little bit of water in your baseball mitt. It makes the pocket nice and supple, soft. Go dunk that sucker in a bucket for a minute, lay it out in the sun, come back the next day, it's rock hard. But you don't have to put it in the sun, just let it dry out. So too much water is actually drying. It pulls from the cells. What ghee does, oil actually lubricates and hydrates. Not saying don't drink water, but you should not drink a gallon a day. That's going to dry out. When you go in the pool for a couple hours, does your skin become supple and soft, or does it become white and wrinkly? It dries out. And bodybuilders will say, well, you got to drink a gallon of water a day because it flushes you. No, it doesn't. It's drying them out. They think it flushes, but it actually dries them. So ghee is healing because it hydrates the cells, lubricates, it softens. Back, a long time ago, the Indian military actually carried around buckets of ghee during battle, and when there was an injury, or they would put ghee on the injury. It's very healing. And there's a lot of other things to go along with it with the cow. The cow is meditative. It's very quiet. It provided a lot of nutrients when civilization was starting. So there's a lot that has to be said about the cow. And what I would like to do on that is such an important part of healing and an important part of Ayurveda, is that I would like to offer up that any current students or anyone watching this that will submit a write-up on the benefits of ghee, we will choose the best answer, and you get a free jar of Chyawanprash worth $39 from Blue Lotus Healing Center. And I have it made by a farmer in India, and it's made traditionally. So submit a why is ghee so healing via email to us. We'll choose one and we'll call you when you win. So free jar of Chyawanprash is up for the best ghee is so healing paper. And then we had a late question come in. Someone had asked, is it okay to take ashwagandha, Chyawanprash, and triphala at the same time or the same day? Absolutely, but that doesn't mean everyone should do it. Go right back to Ama and Agni. Ashwagandha can be heating. So if it's July and it's a raging pitta with rashes and bleeding gums, I wouldn't give it to them right now. Chyawanprash, is the digestion good? Go back to that. It does kindle digestion. And then we go back to triphala. Triphala is wonderful, but taking therapeutically or taking at maintenance. So just remember, treat the person, not the imbalance. Remember that supplements support diet and lifestyle or dinacharya. And really excited about doing this. We're going to start doing it every month. So keep sending in the questions, because next month they're going to be mandatory. Everyone's going to need to send in one, every student. So doesn't mean you got to rack your brain, but I'm sure you're going to find something in your homework. But it's wonderful being able to provide this to you. Thank you so much, and look for good things happening with OM Wellness Institute. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.